This portion of supply chain management will be covering the revenue stream. Next week, we'll be covering the expense stream. The topics we're going to cover today, we're going to go over some dashboards that tend to be useful in the revenue stream side of supply chain management. We'll go through sales order fulfillment processing, fulfilling sales orders from inventory, and some of the outputs that come with that. So creating a pick list, the pricing options, some of the pricing options that are available in Acumatica, carrier pricing, that's shopping for rates, including the type of packaging that is needed. Shipping terms, something that's come out fairly new in Acumatica that helps customers determine specific freight pricing scenarios for their clients. And then to the tail end, we need to generate customer invoices and then book general ledger details, book the accounting journals for the team. After we go through that, we're going to look into a couple of notable options, a quick process option for sales orders, and then also look at some default customer shipping rules. Those are set on the customer record and can be changed on the orders for them. We'll look at the options there for it. And then lastly, we're going to go through some sales order processing again, except this time through dropship processing. So we'll start with the dashboards and get into the software. I saved some of these as favorites to help navigate easier today. So first one we're looking at is the salesperson dashboard. For if this is a first time for you, each of these pieces are called widgets. So all of these details are drillable, so we can drill down, look at my new leads as an example, and see who that is. If we had more than we'd see a list of more than one. So we can also have color coding to show favorable, semi-favorable, and unfavorable circumstances. So green being favorable, yellow being okay. New leads, 7+ days, we only have one. Be nice to see that higher. So that's on a warning track. Color of yellow, and then red here, past close dates, open, no action over the past 30 days. So when we look also at, I'm actually going to change the sizing here so we can maybe get a better view of things. Actually, that made it worse. Let me make that change back. Come back in here and refresh this. All right, here we have sales revenue. So we see 10,000 and change in sales revenue. If we drill down into that, just like with the new leads, we can see all the transactions that make up that sales revenue. In this particular case, it's just from one opportunity that makes up that entire total. And then also was useful for a salesperson is not only seeing how they're doing on the front end, but what's happening on the back end, how are collections going on. And for this case, it's not looking too promising. AR past due, red, unfavorable response, over 255,000 that's past due. So, but these are some of the metrics that are available out of the box for salespeople in this dashboard. Next one we'll go to is the customer view. This dropdown was a new feature from the release prior to the last. So the last release is 2018 R2, it's as abbreviated here. And there are 2 releases of Acumatica functionality every year. They're called year, and then release 1, year, release 2. So 2018 R2 has been released, which is the second release for this year. The first release, 2018 R1, included this customer account ID dropdown. So this dashboard, as it stands now, the way that we're looking at it, all these metrics and graphs are showing an enterprise-wide view. However, we can go ahead and select an individual customer and make all of that relative to just that individual account. Just wanted to point that out. We're going to go back to the enterprise-wide view of these metrics, and we can see here some good items to check on a customer basis. What are the orders that need to be shipped? What are the open opportunities that we need to work to closure? What is the total credit extended? Like how much do we have outstanding there in AR? And if we want to drill down into that a little bit more, we can get down into the individual customer totals, look at their balances, look at what's overdue and how overdue in the aging buckets that they are. Good. So those are some good metrics, as well as the sales order trend by month graph. I also want to point out a couple of functions. I think I've done this before, but really like showing these functions for the graph. So we see this, we have 12 months of history that can be accumulated on this graph. There really haven't been any transactions in the last 3 months in this demo environment. So let's just think that we're in the month of October and we've got 3 full months of history here, and say, hey, instead of looking at the 12-month timeline, what I want to do is I want to focus on those last 3 full months. So I can shade over those 3 bar graphs, and now that's what I get in my graph. I can focus on the results and the layers of those as well. Can click that little arrow that curls around, get the graph back to its original state. And then something that came out also in 2018 R2 in the very last release is this ability to manipulate the graphs by deselecting different legend values. So the sales order trend by month graph, it has 3 different layers to each month, and that one is for sales orders designated by SO. One is for invoices, so invoices that didn't generate from a sales order, and then one is from cash sales. So we can see by the colors here that the sales orders are making up the vast majority of all the sales on any given month. However, if we want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into saying, well, what about those other sales? What are the totals on those? How do they stack up against each other? We can remove the sales orders from the graph, and that's the view that we get. Again, we can just click that arrow, and it'll bring it back to its original state. So just want to highlight that graph functionality there. Everything is also drillable, and also as we mouse over the different layers, we see what the totals are for them as well. It's really a powerful graph functionality is delivered in the dashboards for Acumatica. Next one I want to go into is the warehouse manager dashboard, and here is some good operational widgets. So are there any shipments to pick? Nope. Okay, good. We're in the green. Didn't mean to click that. Got a little click happy there. So we're in the green. Those shipments to pick. We're on top of our game. Late shipments, none there. That's good. It's good to see. Do have some late orders in an unfavorable state, and then we can see our on-time shipping ratio. Something that's been going on the last couple of years, where the ratios aren't as hot or nearly as hot as like the prior 4 years, and that would warrant some analysis and figure out what can be done to fix that. We'll go through a couple more dashboards, and then we'll get into some sales order processing. The last couple are the shipping clerk dashboard. So here, as a shipping clerk, you can see if there are any overdue shipments, any of that shipping clerk's necessity to do pick and pack. Also want to note here that we've got graphs, we've got widgets that have grand totals that can be drilled down into. We can put simple lists onto the dashboard as well. So orders shipped. Here's a list of orders that shipped just by individual order number. So just wanted to bring up that this is another type of widget that can be put onto a dashboard. And again, all these dashboards that I'm showing are all delivered out of the box. Last dashboard I want to show is the AAR clerk count. And again, this is pretty strong dashboard for getting a feel for how collections are going, or in the case of by looking at these widgets, how they're not going. A lot of overdue accounts in the red, a lot of overdue balances greater than a month old, and a significant amount over 2 months old. So over 3 months old, not so bad, so it's yellow. And then lastly, we have this graph here saying, let's look at the top 10 overdue balances, and using that shading function, I could say, well, it's bad news, so let's look at the worst news of them all, and let's look at the top 3 overdue balances. Done that, and we can bring that into focus. So that's a little bit on the dashboarding that is associated with the revenue stream side of supply chain management. Next, we want to go into sales order fulfillment processing. So now we're going to actually walk through creating a sales order and bringing it all the way through the general ledger. So Go into our, these are workspaces. This is a sales order workspace. Going to start creating a sales order here. I'm going to use one of our reliable customers in our demo environments, USA Bartending. Start adding a line here. So I'm going to add an Acer laptop. All right. Quantity is 0 by default, so we need to add something to it. Add 1, and then we have the unit price, yielding an extended price of 500 there. Now, if I add 3, notice that the unit price has gone down $25, and the extended price accordingly. So there's some pricing configuration that's making that work. We're going to look into the item to see how that's set up. So I'm opening up the item now. And on the item screen, I'm going to inquire into the sales prices associated with it. I'll expand this a little bit here. So we have a few different things set up for this item. So we've got a base price set up for this item. Or originally was set up for the item, I should say, at $500, and then that base price expired at the end of 2011. Then imagine, like, say it was 2011, and there was an annual, revamp of prices for offerings to clients. What resulted in that would be, all right, starting at the beginning of 2012, it's the same. It didn't change, but it could change. So we basically have like effective pricing, be able to expire certain prices and make new ones effective through these sales prices that we're looking at here. Now, what we saw take effect was some customer pricing specific to USA Bartending. So here's that customer's code, and what we see is that we have a break quantity. So when 3 or more are purchased, instead of using that default base price, I brought it down to $475 per. And then we also have a couple of other configurations for this particular item that aren't taking effect on the order that we're walking through. But in this case, not just can we set a price to a specific customer, but we can also set it to a customer price class. So think all of your wholesale clients can have pricing that's different from the base, that the pricing that is available by default, as well as separate from pricing that's set up for individual customer. So in this case, for customers that have wholesale pricing, we would see, all right, their base price right off the bat is $25 less than the default of 500. So if you're a wholesale customer, it's going to come up as 475, and then they have a break quantity price. So when wholesale customers buy 3 of this item, then that price is going to go down even further to $450. I just wanted to show a little bit of the setup and flexibility that we've got in pricing for customers within Acumatica. I'm going to go back to the sales order here, and we've got this item set up. We got a quantity of 3. We got that break price for the quantity of 3. We're going to go into shipping settings. We have ship via of UPS ground. That's defaulting in from the customer record for USA Bartending. Now we're going to go ahead and shop for rates. But first, we'll pick a package, and based on the weight of the item, the quantity of the item, of course, plays into it as well. We need a medium box, so that pops up. And now we go ahead and look for our carrier rates. And something's not working right. There we go. There we go. Not sure what that was. Minor hiccup, but what we see here are a number of options for shipping, but some, well, first of all, UPS ground was the default for the customer, and it was found and it was checked, and the freight cost was derived for the shipment to be $28.42, and then we got a delivery date and days in transit associated with it as well. Then we see these other options here: FedEx ground, USPS priority mail, and so forth. And we'll see some like these two at the top where there are these red X's showing that these can't even apply to the sales order. So when we look at the description here, we can see, like, for USPS first class mail, anything under a pound can't be, is just anything over a pound, I should say, is prevented from using this. We got over 8 pounds here, or rather, I should say 8 kilos. It's definitely more than a pound. so we can't use USPS first class mail. And then this one is USPS priority mail international. This isn't an international shipment, so it doesn't apply either. So long story short, we've done our shop rate rate shopping, and we've gotten our default selected for UPS ground. Select OK for that. Now we can save that and look at the totals here. And what we've done is now we see that at freight cost of $20.42 show up on the totals for the sales order. We can see that that's also reflected in the order total. I think it was $1,425 plus this freight cost is coming out to that. Also, we see here this is the freight price, $28.42. So I should say that's what's baking into this. And right now, as the sales order stands, that means we're just passing the freight cost as is to the customer, just dollar for dollar, penny for penny. So with the advent of shipping terms, we can change that. We have options for changing that. So shipping terms came out in the last release. I'm going to take a quick look at how those are configured. So we have 5 of them here. We'll look at a couple of them. So one has a term of CFR for cost and freight. And this is basically doing what's happening by default on the sales order, saying take 100% of the freight costs and pass that on as the freight price to the customer, plain and simple. Then we have another one here, flat rate 1. Look at the full description, flat rate shopping amount of order. And what this is doing is saying, hey, any sales order that is up to $50, we're just going to charge them $5 in shipping and handling. If it's $50 to $100, that shipping and handling charge is going to go up to $10. And anything from $100 and greater is going to have a shipping and handling charge of $15. So if we go back to our sales order, we can apply that and see that take effect. So back in our sales order, go to the shipping settings subtab. Set that rate to flat rate 1. We'll save it. And now we see that basically the customer is getting reduced freight price as opposed to paying what's passed on from UPS. So basically you're eating a little bit of the freight cost to on the customer's behalf. So now we've got this all set to do some processing. What we're going to do is go ahead and create a shipment. So we'll release the hold on this, save the sales order again, and then this actions menu. This actions menu is common throughout all transactions within Acumatica, and it will show all the different possible actions that can come in this case off of the sales order and those that are available. So we can't open an order from a sales order. We can't reopen an order, but we can create a shipment. We can do some other things. We can create purchase orders. And recalculate some prices, and whatever's applicable is being enabled on this actions menu. So we're going to simply take this sales order. We're going to start creating a shipment from it. We have a default warehouse. We'll accept that. And off of this shipment record, we can print our pick list. So again, here's that actions menu and the actions that are available for the transaction. Go ahead and print the pick list. There we go. So that's the pick list. We can now go back to the shipment. And the next step with this shipment is to confirm, saying, yep, it's been sent out the door. We get a green check mark. That means everything is great. And from this point, now we can generate the invoice for the customer. So we go through the actions menu and select prepare invoice. All right, and we see that total of 1,440. We look at the totals here. We're seeing that consists of the line total of 1,425 plus the freight price. This came over as we set it up on the sales order. We transactions, when we release them, that's basically taking the transaction, posting it to the general ledger. So we're going to go ahead and do that with the invoice. And that's it. So that's from sales order entry all the way through creating the invoice and posting it to the general ledger. What I want to do is go back now. I want to go back to the shipment. want to show something that's pretty user-friendly here, or I should say is really convenient. So on this orders sub-tab of the shipment that we created, we have basically our invoice number and we have our inventory reference number. Invoice number is what it is. It's, we generated an invoice and we posted it to the general ledger. This inventory reference number, this is the issue of the stock, and we can drill down into that inventory reference number. We can see what the financial results are that posted to the ledger. So from there we can see, yep, we reduced inventory by quantity of 3 of this Acer laptop, and we increased COGS, or cost of goods sold. So that's been posted. Great. Now if we look at the invoice number, go to financial details, we'll look at the batch number for it. And we see, yep, we've got an AR opened up of $1,440, and the breakdown of the revenue is the line item total here, and then the $15 for the freight, for the sales of freight, the freight price that we generated from the sales order. So that's from beginning to end, creating a sales order all the way through the shipment and invoicing. I want to go through a couple of options. So that was going through every single step. We wanted to really show how this is working behind the scenes in a sense, because you may want to take a shortcut, and that's going to be what we're going to show next is a couple of notable options. First is the quick process. So we're going to go back and start creating a sales order again, but this time we're going to use the quick process that's going to get button that's going to get enabled after we've set this up. So USA bartending again. I'm going to select the same item, Acer laptop computers. So quantity 3, we got our unit price broken down from 500 to 475. Do our rate shopping. Didn't mean to click that. Our rates. It picks UPS ground, should be for the exact same amount, same cost as we looked at before. And then just from here, I'm gonna select that particular shipping term. So we're just gonna charge them $15 for the whole order. Save that. Looks great. Now we release it from hold. Save it. Now the beauty of the quick process function is that we can save a lot of clicks. So by default, with this quick process, we're gonna create the shipment, we're gonna confirm the shipment. We may want to add some actions to this as well. So print the pick list. Yep, I want that done. We can print labels, print a shipping confirmation. We're gonna prepare the invoice. And we get a little warning or a little announcement here that says, hey, USA bartending, they prefer to receive invoices by email. So if you're going to leave it as is, fine. But in this case, we're going to say, you know what, we're going to email the invoice as they request. So now we're going to create all these documents and transactions. Click OK. We get a dialog box. Everything goes well. We see several links for the results. So the shipment's been created. The pick list has been prepared. The inventory document has been created. That's showing that reduction of the asset and the increase of COGS. And then lastly, the customer invoice is created. So done that all in one swoop instead of going through all those screens that we did just prior. Now, I did want to note from the end of that process, going to the customer record, this is a common sub-tab, is activities on entities like customers and vendors, as an example, as well as on transactions. But what we did at the end of that process is we took the invoice and we said, yep, email it as they request or as they prefer. We're seeing the communications of that all accumulated here. We can add emails straight from here. In the case of what we just did is we generated an invoice and then emailed it through the quick process, and that's been recorded here as well. So we can do a lot of logging, if you will, and see a log of some automated processes like that, all accumulated here on this activity sub-tab. I just wanted to give a quick view into that, and I've heard customers say, hey, it'd be great if we could add some notes as we have phone calls with our customers that maybe chasing down a bill or finding out that they have a problem with their shipment and see exactly what it is. So this is a nice place to put all those communications together in a single view. All right. Another option I want to show is, oh, actually, I should go back onto the customer record. I do want to show that shipping rule setup. So we go into the delivery settings sub-tab, and for shipping rules, we're saying by default, back orders are going to be allowed. Now, this is a default, so it can be overwritten at the order level, but that's going to be the default for the customer. Two other defaults that are available are ship complete, so order can't be processed unless all the quantities for all the lines are available to fulfill it. And then the other way is cancel remainder. So ship what you got and cancel the rest of the order. So those are the three options that we have for shipping rules that are on the customer master. Just wanted to show those. So those are our notable options. And lastly, we're going to go into dropship processing. So a drop ship, just to set up the definition, instead of getting a sales order from a customer, fulfilling that sales order from inventory, and then shipping it ourselves, the drop ship is basically saying, well, we buy this product from a particular vendor, and we're going to have this sales order processed via drop ship. So the vendor is just going to send that product instead of us. It's going to send that product directly to the customer. So we're going to walk through doing that process. All right, we're going to use the same customer. You do the same item. I'm just going to do one this time. One little wrinkle here, or rather some enhancements that we found useful for clients to the point that it made sense to build them out and make them available as requested, is the ability to have companion items and substitute items available for selection on a sales order. So this Acer laptop, we've got a quantity of 1. We hit this add companion items button here. We can see that, oh, maybe a laptop computer motherboard, maybe that's something that they would order as well. So, and if we were going to do that, we could go ahead and select this, select the quantity of that item, and then that would add a second line onto the sales order. Similarly, we select the substitute item. We see that we also sell Lenovo laptops. So if we don't have Acer laptops, but we want to substitute it, need to substitute it, here it is. Again, just like with the companion items, select that line item, put in the quantity that's to be ordered, add it to the order, and then it would replace this line item with that substitute item. So there's a couple of functions that have been requested frequently enough for Crestwood to create this functionality and added as needed. So so we're now back on the sales order line, creating this drop ship order. What we do, it's the same item, same customer. It's just a matter of setting up a couple parameters on this sales order line. So kind of come through here, we check this box for mark for PO, and then the PO source is either create a purchase to order and then fulfill that, or make it a drop ship. So we select a drop ship option here. We go ahead and save it. Okay. Now I should release the hold and save it. Now we go to that actions menu, and now we have this enabled. This is applicable, creating the purchase order, because we need to create a purchase order for these dropship sales orders, and then we're going to receive against it, and that's basically going to be the transaction. So now we've got this dropship order queued up. We're going to go ahead and process it. I'm going to release the hold on the sales order, purchase order, I should say, and applicable actions. Enter a PO receipt against it. I'm going to go back and view the PO at this point. All right, rather let me save this. Oh. It's asking for a vendor reference, so think of like a vendor invoice number. Put in any old value, and then from here, I'm gonna release the purchase order receipt. I want to note here also we have this option of creating a bill at the point of releasing the receipt. So creating the vendor bill. leaving it as default. So it's going to actually create the vendor bill as well as the booking of the receipt to the general ledger. All right. Now I want to go back and view the PO. So we see that that purchase order has now been closed. So when we received against the purchase order for the dropship sales order, that's basically saying the vendor has shipped the product to the customer. That's really the significance of that action. From here, we're going to go into viewing the sales order demand. Open up that sales order. And now we just need to complete this, wrap this all up. Now we've got to take the sales order and from there create the invoice. Release it to the general ledger. All's good. Now I want to take a look at the accounting details that got generated from that. So same accounting details as the order for fulfillment. We've got a receivable opened up, and we've got sales revenue and a freight price line. So two different revenue lines on that invoice. So that's a big deal there. And then lastly, I need to come back a little bit here. Excuse me. I'm going to go back to the sales order shipments. Actually, let me open up that sales order again. Go to the shipment sub-tab. And now here what we see is, if we look at this document number for the receipt, and we look at the billing history, we had that checkbox of create bill by default, so now we've got that vendor bill created. So if we look at that vendor bill, that's also been released. Look at the financial details of it. So we've created an AP, and we've opened up this debit to an inventory purchase accrual. So and this is just wrapping up really the inventory portion of it. And then the other side is, oh, wrong one, sorry. Then if we come back to the inventory reference number, look at the financial details of it. It's clearing that balance in that inventory purchase accrual and debiting the COGS. So just wanted to show a little bit of the difference in the accounting, that we're not reducing inventory because we never received the inventory. So we have this inventory purchase accrual account coming into play as part of the dropship process. So that is everything we've got today for the revenue stream and supply chain management. Again, we walked through sales order processing, we walked through some dashboards, walked through sales order fulfillment processing, fulfillment from inventory, from creating the sales order from scratch all the way through booking the invoice and the general ledger details. A couple of notable options, so walk through that step by step, but we'd use the quick process to save a number of mouse clicks. And we looked at the customer shipping rules, had that customer default to allowing for back orders. We know that can be overwritten at the order level, but we can also set it to default to making orders ship complete or not at all. As well, we can say cancel a remainder of amounts that aren't fulfilled on sales orders. So those three different options for the customer shipping rules. And then lastly, we walked through the drop ship and also noted a little bit of the extensions that Crestwood found to be beneficial for its client base in applying companion items and substitute items at order entry as necessary. So that's everything we've got for today. Amber, see if you've got any questions, and we've got 7 minutes left.
Yeah, we do have a few questions today. The first one, can you tell us how credit card processing works when processing a sales order?
Yeah. So we can, let me see if I can go back in here. So when we select a customer onto a sales order, the default payment method comes onto that sales order, but we can then select the credit card payment method if that's also set up on the customer record. We can enter in the credit card information. I would like to do this actually in another demo, but we can actually enter in the credit card information and get an authorization of the credit card on the sales order, or further down the line at the invoice that we generated towards the end of that sales order process. And there are also a couple of different options of how that authorization is passing. One that really is PCI compliant, one that isn't. But long story short, we can have the customer record default that credit card payment method, or we can switch to that credit card payment method on the individual sales order, get the authorization for payment, and likewise we could also do that, hold off on doing that credit card processing until the very end of the process when we're working on an invoice. I hope that helps answer the question.
Okay, great. Just moving along because we have a couple more. One says, can you go over adding freight to a drop ship invoice?
Freight to a drop ship, okay. All right, so let me get back in here. Sorry, just trying to clean up a whole bunch of menus. So we'll start creating a sales order. Try to do this quickly here. So here's USA Bartending. I'm going to add that Acer laptop item again. This is going to take, we got 5 minutes, so I'm going to take the time with it. I think I can squeeze it in and answer the other question. So mark for PO, drop ship, and save that. So from here, if you recall, we have the default ship via of UPS Ground for this customer USA Bartending. Then we shop the rates, pick the packages, got our costs, and then it flowed over here. Notice that the freight cost is on an editable box, so it's coming in based off of what we're getting as a result of our rate shopping, but we can always override this. So we can always override this, and we can always override the freight price. So just, I think that addresses the question in the sense that, yes, we're generating the freight costs and the freight price out of the system as was just demoed, but we also have the ability to override both those values on the sales order through this total sub tab. Okay.
All right, awesome. And there is just one more. Can the steps that you walked through on a standard order be automated outside of quick process?
Yes. So this is the sales order workspace. I'll show the full menu. I guess they don't really show much more, but we have these processes, menu items, so process orders, process shipments. So let's see if we got any queued up. I want to give like a nice example here, if we have any. Of course not. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. So these process menu items, you say, process invoice memos. What action do we want to take? Well, I want to release any and all invoices that are ready for release. So here are several that are in the status of being balanced. That is the next step to release the invoices, and we can individually select which ones we want to release, or just hit process all, and it'll take care of everything that gets conjured up on the screen. The same goes for shipments. We probably don't have anything queued up here. Updating inventory maybe, but the same goes for shipments, and the same goes for processing orders. Creating the shipments as an example. Here's a few that are queued up. A few sales orders that are queued up for shipments to be created next. So yes, we can do that batch processing, and I want to take that a step further as well. So we're looking at the menu items to say, all right, if I'm a user real time, I'm going into this process orders page, and I'm going to create shipments for all the sales orders that are ready to have shipments created. This arrow, this curved arrow, it's a scheduler that we can set up. So we can go into here and say, okay, we want this process to run automatically in the background 3 times a day, once at 8, once at noon, once at 4 o'clock. So we have the option to schedule that, so we don't even need to go into the screen unless we want to do it ad hoc on the fly at that particular moment. All right. We have any other questions, Amber?
Okay, I kind of have a question based on one question that somebody asked. A question that was asked is, companions and substitute items are not part of the R2 release, but are available as an add-on. Is there any functionality within Acumatica right now, or within 2018 R2 that does something like that, or is that only available through an add-on product?
That's available through our add-on product now. I actually was coincidentally seeing another third party that had a vertical industry solution built for Acumatica, and they also had that as well. So I think some of the providers and ISVs or integrated service vendors, they are really catching on that this is frequently asked for and are building it out. So I would assume it would be on Acumatica's roadmap to build it out as part of the base, but to satisfy customers' needs, we've built it out, and so are others.
Thanks for watching. To learn more about our products, visit www.crestwood.com. Hope to see you there soon.